Welcome back. Now one can buy almost anything, if not everything, online these days. Food, clothes, appliances, and even cars. E-commerce clearly puts a spanner in the works for car dealers. According to Auto Trader SA, more and more consumers are moving towards purchasing their vehicles online. David Furlonger, editor-at-large of the Financial Mail, joins us to discuss the impact this is having on car dealers. Thank you so much for your time, David. We are familiar with buying cars online, looking at platforms like We Buy Cars. Does this then extend to even new car purchases? And is it the whole process or just parts of the process that are concentrated on the online platform?
Sorry, first of all, excuse my voice. I've got a bit of a throat.
Yeah.
It depends which manufacturer you're dealing with. Volvo, for example, has tried to start a process whereby all of its cars will be bought online over a certain number of years. It's now given up on that because consumers don't want it. So if you're looking at some of the luxury companies, yes, they want to make it as online as possible. It is possible, buying a car today, that the first time you will touch it and physically see it is when it's delivered to your front door. You can do that.
Okay.
But most people, fortunately, still have a brain, and they realize that when you're buying something which at the very least is R250,000, can run into many millions of rands, even millions of dollars, you want to sit in it, you want to drive it, and you want to, what the dealers say, you kick the tires. You get a sense of what the vehicle is. So there is more online happening within the buying process, but most people, the overwhelming number of people, still want an experience of the car before they hand over the money.
And you talk about the experience of the car, and I can imagine that maybe in the used car market we're seeing less of that taking place because of the risks associated with buying used vehicles.
Look, most people, if they have common sense, they will also want to drive the used car. They will probably get in the AA or someone just to have a look over it, just to make sure that it's all right. Although, you know, a lot of used cars obviously do have warranties, but you should certainly, even more with a new car, with a used car, be very cautious during that buying process.
David, is this trend of buying more and more cars online purely as a result of generational shifts?
It is generational shift, but it's also practical. In the old days, and I'm old enough to remember the very old days, you would spend probably several days wandering around various dealerships, having a look. You know, you'd have an idea in the back of your mind as to what you wanted. But here in South Africa now, we have 49 car brands to choose from. To start going through those is very difficult. So going online really gives you a head start.
Yeah.
Now, talking to Martina Biener yesterday at Volkswagen, she was saying, I think it's something like 70%, 75% of customers, when they go into a dealership, they already know what car it is they want to buy. The actual dealer salesman is there to facilitate the process. But interestingly, 40% of people, when they choose a car, when they go online, they actually consider a car they'd never even heard of before, because they don't just go into, say, the Toyota website. They will go in, they will put in the various specifications they want without going into a brand, and then the various options will come up. So online, I think, is fantastic. It creates many shortcuts in that purchasing process, but ultimately you've got to have the common sense to sit in it. One of the great things about a new car is the smell, but of course whether it's delivered to your door or in the dealership, it's the same. But you've got to kick the tires, you've got to see what you're buying.
And how are car dealers dealing with this slight shift that we are seeing of more and more people trying to purchase, or at least, you know, get that process started online? Are we seeing them, you know, develop more omni-channel-like systems?
We are seeing, when we talk about omni-channel, are we talking about multi-brand, or what are we talking about?
We can say probably going digital and having a brick and mortar store.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. They certainly have to change their processes. They also need to be a lot more aware of the car than they used to be. because people, particularly young people, when they go in, they know all the technicalities. They know exactly what is under the bonnet of the car. The days when a dealer could, excuse the word, a customer who knew very little are gone. The customers now know exactly what they're doing. So yes, the dealers do have to have better knowledge. They do have to understand both, as you put it, you know, your way. They do have to understand all the different processes now. And what we're seeing is that dealer numbers are also reducing. Because, I mean, if I take a look at what I was looking at the other day, they've cut their dealer numbers considerably. They're aiming to sell an average of 100 per dealer per year. And that is because their dealerships are not getting not just the volumes of vehicles they used to, but also because they don't have to have all the infrastructure and everything else, because the customers are coming in so well informed.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you say that the dealers now need to change their processes, and that a lot of consumers, majority of consumers, know what car they want. And we're actually living in an era of information overload. Everywhere you look on YouTube, there are influencers and YouTubers posting videos about experiencing and testing out the different cars. My brother, every day he's watching a video on YouTube on these cars that he wants to buy. And I'm just wondering then, with that information overload, where then the dealer doesn't actually have to give this information to the consumer, does that then create a job problem or a potential job problem in the dealerships, David?
It does create a job problem. Let me say, first of all, that I have been on a couple of car launches with influencers.
Yeah.
I would not buy anything based on their recommendation. I genuinely wouldn't. I saw one who was a baker, and very good baker.
Yeah.
But he was basing everything on how many loaves of bread and cakes you could get everything in the bag. So you need that dealer knowledge as well. Yeah,
so fish climbing a tree.
Yeah, influencers have a place, but they should not be as influential as some of them are.
Okay.
And just before we let you go, just walk me through some of the dynamics playing out or shifting when it comes to both selling cars online and purchasing cars online.
Well, the dynamics are fairly straightforward. It's really the same dynamics as before, but you are diverting in one or two areas. So you still start, as the buyer, you still start knowing or having some idea of what you want, but instead now of, as I said earlier, instead of now of going to 2 or 3 dealers to compare, you now do it online. You also have all the knowledge, or you should have all the knowledge when you go in. So it empowers you as the customer. It really does empower you as the customer when you go in. As the dealer, you just have to accept that things have changed. We're getting artificial intelligence is coming in more and more now, which will personalize the purchasing process a little bit more, because they will now know more about you. Although you will now still have to deal with these appalling chatbots, which will give you absolutely no information whatsoever. But it's a natural process. It's for some of us it's uncomfortable, but we're getting used to it. It's the way the world is going. But overall, I think that online and AI, it really is improving the whole purchase and car buying process.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those very, very interesting insights into the dynamics that we are seeing in the kind of transaction processes in the car market. That was Editor-at-Large of the Financial Mail, David Furlonga.